Hey, Vinay, it's Presta. Thanks for stopping by. Now, while you are watching this video, future Mark and his wife are on holiday in Europe. Now, this is our first overseas holiday since the COVID years, and we're flying to Frankfurt, and then we're going to travel south of Frankfurt down through Bavaria, along the German-Swiss border. We're going to travel up through the Black Forest, along the German-French border. We're actually crossing over to France for a couple of days, going to a place called Lille. And there's a very special museum there that we want to visit, and I'll probably post some pictures on Instagram of that visit later. Now from there we're travelling up to Belgium. Now whilst in Belgium I thought I'd get in touch with my old mate Michel. Now you know him from his YouTube channel called Rustanox. Now I've been following his channel for quite a long time now, and I love the work that he does. I would describe his work as being truly authentic. Whatever he does with simple tools, simple equipment, although he does have a beautiful milling machine now. And most of his projects are made from just scrap materials. So it's very accessible. You can watch what he does, and you can easily duplicate his methods and his techniques, and he makes some amazing tools out of very humble materials. So like I say, it's very authentic, and it's worth watching. Anyway, we realised we were going to be very close to where he lives, and I got in touch and I sort of invited myself to come around and visit and he graciously accepted. In fact, he sent me a video showing me all of the best places to visit in Belgium, and we changed our itinerary to suit that. And it also turned out we were going to be there very close to his birthday. In fact, we're there on the day of his birthday. I'm not sure how that's going to work out yet, but long story short, I thought I'd make him a birthday present. So the video you're about to watch is me making that for Michel, and then by the time you see this we'll have already done the visit, and I sort of made the video for Michel as well, just to show him what goes into making this particular project. So sit back and relax and enjoy. Damn it. Okay, gonna do that one again. I think I'll use green sand. That's K-Bond sand. It's a bit dry, and yeah, the center of the U has just pulled out. And that's the problem. These little divisions between the individual parts of the letter is very narrow and therefore don't have a lot of strength. And when you go to pull the pattern, it's only got a catch, and it'll just lift that bit of sand up and shear off at the base. This is just calcium carbonate powder, and it sort of leaves a water repellent coating on the pattern so that it doesn't suck up moisture from the green sand. The green sand is a water-based sand. The other material I use first up, the K-Bond, is an oil-bound sand. And when it gets dry, you've got to mull it, you've got to add alcohol to it. No, I didn't do that, so it was a bit dry. But this green sand I just made up yesterday, and it's nice and moist. You can see that's not coming through the sieve quite as freely as the K-Bond. We just want to get some fine sand without any lumps closest to the pattern, and then you can backfill with whatever comes out of the bucket. This time I'm not going to take the pattern out, I'm just going to wrap the pattern and loosen it. And we'll do the top part of the mold, which is the cope. Because this is the back, we don't need to get rid of any of the lumps. We can just put the sand in straight as it is. There's no detail on the back. Sort of a bit reluctant to do a lot of work on this. Should really take the pattern out first, because if the pattern pulls the sand as it comes up, you got to start again. So all I'm doing here is cutting a runner. It's going to distribute the metal down this side and it'll run through to the other side. Okay, see if we can pull the pattern. Alright, that one's good. So there's nothing left in the pattern itself, so everything is there. So I'll finish this off now. I'm going to put some gates through from the runner into the mould cavity, and what I'll probably do is put the riser directly on top rather than having it flow through. I've just cut 3 gates there, and they're fairly wide, fairly shallow. And we just want to round off that edge so the metal doesn't erode that as it goes in. So I think we're going to put our riser here, right in the centre of the pattern. So that big lump of metal can be cut off later on with a hacksaw and either machined or ground smooth. So that one's done, and we've got a pouring basin on the other side, what they call an offset pouring basin, so you don't pour it directly into the sprue. It'll go into a well and then overflow and go down the sprue and into the part. So this is where the sprue matches up with that runner that I made, and that controls the flow and stops it sort of rushing in and dislodging sand grains as it goes in. We'll go and get this together, and then we'll get the furnace lit up. think that went fairly well, but it started to rain about halfway through the melting process, so I had to shift the furnace inside, and it's filled my workshop with smoke. So we'll let that cool, and then we'll break it open and see what we got. This bottom fell out of the mould. No, it doesn't really matter, it's got to come apart anyway. I should have picked up the whole board that was sitting on, brought the whole lot out together. It was a big mould, a lot of weight there, and it's unsupported and it just falls out. But this is where all the heartbreak happens. Alright, that looks like a win to me. So I'll get that loose sand out and we'll give it a closer look. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to cool this down outside with a hose and then we'll have a closer look. That's all cooled down now. The only defect that I can find is right here. And that's where I drove the screw through from the back of the pattern so I could tap the pattern loose and extract it. And on the pattern, you can see the same defect just there. And of course that gets transferred through to the casting. But otherwise it's pretty good. What I'll do there is just get a Dremel and a small burr and I'll just clean that off, and then when we powder coat it you won't see it. But everything else, all the detail came out really, really good. This is what it looks like on the other side. So this thing here is called a sprue and it's tapered, and the idea is that you have to keep that full with liquid metal as it goes down into the runner and the gate. If that doesn't stay full and you get air bubbles being sucked down into the casting, it'll leave porosity and mess up your casting. This thing here is called the offset pouring basin, and you pour the metal into that and it overflows into the tapered sprue, and then of course the runner and the gate take the liquid metal through. The other thing I did with this one is I tilted the mould slightly so that it filled up from the back first. So this is the area that was lowest and it filled up as it went across. That way it doesn't just sort of flow out in a big mess and solidify before it's really full. This thing here is called the feeder or the riser. Its job is to actually supply liquid metal to the casting as it cools. And you see how it's all shrunk down on top there. And the idea is that as this metal down here in the casting cools, it shrinks, and this is supposed to supply fresh metal to keep that from shrinking down here. So essentially it shrinks up here and not down there. So I'm going to get this all cleaned up now, and then we'll do the finishing, and yeah, it's looking good. A bit ugly, we can fix that though. Well, there it is cleaned up now. What I'll do is put this in the milling machine and just skim that face there. When I made the pattern for this, I 3D printed these outer edges, and I just made a mistake and made them higher than the lettering. But I sort of knew I was going to skim that off anyway. So what we'll do is we'll do that. We'll clean these outside edges. I think they're just going to be belt sanded. And then we'll powder coat it, and then we'll belt sand off the top surface to expose the lettering. And we'll do that with a portable belt sander. That's cleaning up really nice, but I'm running out of travel in my X direction. So I'm just going to shift it over in the vise. I'll put a machinist jack underneath the free end because I don't want to run too far over to the left. Well, that's a way better setup. I've got the machinist jack under that free end, and that way I don't have to run the table so far to the right to get this edge here. Part of the problem is that my vise is offset to the left-hand side of the table, and a good way to break your glass scale is to run it right to the end of its travel. Ask me how I know that. Okay, let's finish this up. Sort of looks good like that, doesn't it? That's the finish you can get with like a fine belt. And we use the same belt on the front later on after we've done the powder coat. Well, that top surface and the edges are done now. I also belt sanded the back. There is a defect in the center here. That's where the riser was. There's a bit of a shrinkage mark and there's also a gouge mark there, but that will get powder coated all over. And what I'll do now is I'll sandblast in this deeper area here. That will give it a texture and a key. That will help the powder coat to adhere. And then we'll just sand off all of the high spots, give it a beautiful satin finish. And I'll put some screw holes in here too. There it is now, fully sandblasted. I've done all of the interior spaces in here. I've done these edges and the back. This top surface here, all of this horizontal surface here will be sanded smooth, and you'll see the aluminium as a contrast against the background, which is going to be black, but a very fancy black. This is a colour called Sputtered Black, and it's got a rich sparkle in it, but it comes out glossy. I think it's going to look great on this. So the trick now is to get this in the oven without touching it or having the wire rub or drop it on the floor, which I've done before. But the good thing is, if you mess it up, you just blow it all off and do it again. There's the powder coat cured now. It's got a really nice sparkly sort of texture to it. But we'll get this cleaned off now, and that will give us the contrast between the lettering and the background. I'll get some compressed air and clean that all out, give you a closer look. Well, there it is, all done. I did find some nice little round head nickel plated wood screws, but you can use any type of screw. I'll go and get this bubble wrapped up, put it in my luggage, and we'll find a place for it to go in the workshop. Okay, Michelle, cheers. I'll see you soon.